I'm delighted to participate in this commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day, jointly organized by the Federations of Edmonton and Calgary, of the Public Libraries of Edmonton and Calgary, and with the participation of the mayors in these municipalities, and with your guest speaker, Ben Freeman. We meet at an important moment of remembrance and reminder, of witness and warning. On the 77th anniversary of the liberation of the death camp Auschwitz, the most brutal extermination camp of the 20th century, a laboratory for mass murder for which there are no graves. A reminder of horrors too terrible to be believed, but not too terrible to have happened. A remembrance of the Holocaust, as Elie Wiesel said, as a war against the Jews in which not all victims were Jews, but all Jews were victims. Of bearing witness to the mass murder of 6 million Jews and millions of non-Jews, not as a matter of abstract statistics, but as we say on such moments of remembrance, unto each person there is a name, each person is an identity, each person is a universe, and a warning to learn and to act upon the universal lessons of the Holocaust as a paradigm for radical evil, as anti-Semitism is a paradigm for radical hate. These lessons include the danger of forgetting and the imperative of remembrance, the dangers of hate and anti-Semitism. 1.3 million people were deported to the death camp Auschwitz. 1.1 million of them were Jews. Let there be no mistake about it. Jews were murdered at Auschwitz because of anti-Semitism. But anti-Semitism itself did not die at Auschwitz, and it remains the bloodied canary in the mineshaft of global evil today. Of the dangers not only of Holocaust denial, but the increasing proliferation of Holocaust distortion, trivialization, and inversion, which themselves undermine the institutions of a democracy as they undermine democracy itself. Of the dangers of state-sanctioned incitement to hatred and contempt, as the Supreme Court of Canada put it so well. The Holocaust did not begin in the gas chamber, said the court. It began with words. These are the chilling facts of history. These are the catastrophic effects of racism. Of the dangers of silence in the face of evil, our responsibility to speak up, to stand up, and to act against injustice. Of the dangers of indifference and inaction in the face of mass atrocity. What makes the Holocaust and the genocides that have since followed so unspeakable are not only the horrors themselves, that would be bad enough. What makes the Holocaust and the genocides such as that of the Tutsis in Rwanda so unspeakable is that they were preventable. Nobody could say we did not know. We knew, but we did not act. Just as with regard to the Rohingya and the Uyghurs today, we know and we are not acting. Of the dangers of la trahison des clercs, the betrayal of the elites. Nuremberg crimes were the crimes of the Nuremberg elites, of doctors and scientists, of judges and lawyers, of journalists and church leaders, of engineers and architects who themselves designed the death camp Auschwitz. Of the dangers of impunity and not bring war criminals to justice. Of assaults on the vulnerable. One of the first groups targeted for destruction were the Jewish disabled, reminding us that the test of a just society is how does it treat its most vulnerable of minorities, and the importance and the imperative of acting on the injunction of never again. As Raoul Wallenberg demonstrated how one person with the compassion to care and the courage to act can confront injustice, prevail, and transform history. And so, may I now close with a word to the survivors. For you have endured the worst of inhumanity, yet you somehow found in the resources of your own humanity the will to go on, to form families, to build relationships, and to make enduring contributions to Calgary, to Edmonton, to our Canadian mosaic. And so, may this International Day of Remembrance be not only a day of remembrance and reminder, which it is, but may it be also a remembrance to act, which it must be, on behalf of our common humanity. Thank you.